Casually flying. It's what
Very
we're
good.
doing. I don't know, just fly casual, as Han Solo said in a movie. I'm James. This is Flying Casual, which is now on the Rebel Scum Podcast Network, Digital Charcuterie as well. And I'm joined with executive producer Heidi. Heidi, what's up?
Hey. Good. What's up with you?
Star Wars. Star Wars is up. Hopefully it stays up, but we'll see. And also joining us today, right down there, Sooner Thrawn. Sooner, what's up?
Hey, James, Heidi, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. Ready to talk some Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy as fired. No way she's not fired. No.
She's sticking around till the end of time. And chat, we want to hear from you. Anyone that's out there right now, we want to hear from you. It's Flying Casual. We'll let you dictate what we say, what we do. But we will talk a little bit about Kathleen Kennedy because as we're gearing up for this show, I don't know if you guys have seen it. I've been working all day. I'm not tuned in so much while I'm at work. And then I was like, okay, I'll get ready. We'll talk about Kathleen Kennedy and or all that fun stuff. And then this Deadline article comes out. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see this Deadline article or not.
No.
I'm going to open it on my phone. You know what? Let's open it on the
Yeah. No,
on the
I've
computer here.
been pretty busy all day, so I hadn't really seen. I just since yesterday.
Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah. Yep.
You know when so we have Dale's. We'll say hi to Dale. Dale should run Lucas home.
Dale.
And Ron is here. And Ram.
Ram.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, The Wolf of Wall Street. If you've seen it, there's a part where what's his face? Leonardo DiCaprio says, "I ain't leaving. I'm not effing leaving."
Yeah.
And that's Kathleen Kennedy in a nutshell. That is Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy saw the rumors and she said, "I ain't leaving."
So she said that today.
I ain't leaving.
Is that today?
I shared the wrong screen. It's today. Yeah, just a couple hours ago this came out. Here we go. Whew, I almost shared Twitter. Nobody needs to see that. So let's go. Boom, boom.
Oh.
As everything freezes on my end. Look at this right here. Let's get rid of this graphic so that we can actually read the screen. There's too many buttons to press, you know. Here we go. Deadline. Kathleen Kennedy speaks on her Lucasfilm plans. She is not soon retiring and films that will keep her in Star Wars orbit for years to come. I ain't leaving. She's not going anywhere. I haven't read this. It literally, I was just on with Heidi. We were talking just before you got on, Sooner, and all of a sudden, I went on my phone just because Brock and I don't know if you guys have been watching long enough, but I don't know, 7 years ago, we used to record our shows. We weren't live. And in the recording of the shows, news would always drop. And so we would finish recording, we'd be packing up, and we'd be like, "Oh man, the directors of Solo were just fired." And it would always happen while we were while we were recording our episodes. So we started doing this thing called "What Up with Star Wars,"
Right.
And so we would just Google Star Wars. So I was like, I should do that before, and this populates on it. So I'll read a little bit of it, then we can comment on this. It's an exclusive to Deadline. I thought I'd seen it all in trade journalism, but the piranha-like frenzy on Kathleen Kennedy and the successor speculation that followed Matt Maloney's Puck report that Disney was putting her out to pasture is a new one on me. Maloney has for years been beating on Kennedy like she owes him money, and this week's reported Kennedy was retiring. I recall he essentially did the same thing more than a year ago, and here she is still producing the Mandalorian movie and prepping the Sean Levy-directed Star Wars film, which Ryan Gosling is circling, as well as numerous other film projects. A-list. There's too many ads. Was that the whole point of? Here we go. Deadline. Oh, there's an interview. It's an interview. Deadline. We've all read these speculative reports that you are out, that there's a frenzy for the next person who's going to take over Lucasfilm. What is the truth? Kathleen Kennedy. Here we go. Hold on to your butts. The truth is, and I want to just say loud and clear, she sounds like a politician. I am not retiring.
Oh my god.
You know what? I don't care what you might think she ruined Star Wars, but this is the greatest troll job ever.
I don't.
I'm not retired. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. That is the
Yeah,
first thing that's
she will be
important to
on the
say.
set.
I'm not retired. Yeah. What's
I
happening at
don't.
Lucasfilm is I have been talking for quite some time with both Bob and Alan about what eventually succession might look like. We have an amazing bench of people here, and we have every intention of making an announcement months or a year down the road. We are lock stop as to what's going to be, and I am continuing. I'm producing Mandalorian, the movie right now, and I'm also producing Sean Levy's movie, which is after that. So I'm continuing to stay at Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully with Bob and Alan as to who's stepping in so that is all underway, and we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it, which is completely fair. I thought the reason why it wasn't official a few days ago was I thought they're going to wait maybe for celebration, but this sounds
Right.
like it's not. So I'm going to keep reading, but before I get there, let's start Heidi, then Sooner. What are your thoughts on that paragraph and the whole thing that's going on?
I think they've been trolling us for the last 7 years, to be honest with you. I find it amusing that I remember when 2020 was over. When 2020 was coming to the end, people were like, "Oh, I can't wait for this horrible year to be over." I remember thinking, I really think January 1st, 2021, your life is going to magically get better.
Nope.
I don't think that that her leaving is necessarily going to fix everything. I don't know how many decisions are hers and how many aren't. I mean, I've said before, there's decisions she made that I like. There's decisions she made that I didn't like. I don't want to get into them because you can easily trigger Star Wars fans, and people are triggered too much in this world anymore, and I don't want to go there. But like I said, I don't think some magical spell is gonna fix Star Wars if she's gone. I think everything that's right with Star Wars and everything that's wrong with Star Wars isn't necessarily on one person. I think you've got a corporation running things, and they may get in the way. I think a lot of times she might just be the scapegoat. I'm not saying she's perfect, but there's probably a lot of things that are wrong with Star Wars, and I think there's might be a lot of interfering. I mean, Lucas, he had a good relationship with Cheryl Adzak's husband, who ran 20th Century Fox at the time, and he gave him carte blanche. I mean, really, you got to keep in mind that 20th Century Fox pretty much let Lucas do whatever he wanted. Well, Lucas isn't with Lucasfilm or Star Wars anymore, and he's not with Disney. So I think Lucasfilm today is dealing with a completely different corporation than what George Lucas dealt with in the 70s and the 90s.
No, yeah, I agree with that. I think Kathy and Bob Iger are both laughing at us because they always keep saying, "Yeah, I'm going to leave." Because how many times have we heard Iger's going to leave too?
I love it.
Didn't he leave for a while and then, no, I'm back. Just kidding.
I got worse.
Yeah, I mean and then with her, I find this one funny because our favorite YouTuber, we'll just leave it at that, didn't actually comment on this time. So did they just be like, "Oh well, he didn't do it. That means it must be true"? I don't know. What made it this one be different? I mean, and it's because this is just like the other times, unless she's pulling a fast one, and she actually is. And so they just, how like sometimes they'll say this is a leak, and they'll deny it, and then actually does happen. Yeah. I mean, Tobey Maguire and Garfield, they weren't going to be in Spider-Man. Oh, come on, they're not in Spider-Man. And Khan was not in, Star Trek 2. Yeah. So she could be doing that. I don't know, but with as many times she's gone back and forth, probably seems like she would. I really think it would have made, like Heidi said, I don't think it would be. It's not as big a deal now. Now, if this had happened, like kind of maybe right after Solo, which was a great movie, but just marketed bad, and because all that stuff, we already know all that.
Yeah.
And then The Mandalorian was the next big thing. I think they would have said, well, geez. look what we could have been having. But now that we've had a whole bunch of other good stuff that, she does get to take some credit for, I don't think it's as big a deal now because it is better than it once was. But a lot of the streaming shows are good. But I just think it's not as big a deal now as it would have been if it would have been like after Solo when there were some issues.
Yeah.
I just feel like that she doesn't really have as much influence as she once did because, just seeing people would argue with Acolyte, maybe she had a few, but the other ones, there's just a lot more of where I don't see her as much influence as she had. And that's probably why it's improved somewhat. Because she's a great business person, but I just don't know about creativity if she's really the person.
I also don't know if she needs to be creative in the role.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
That's something that we overlook. But I think based on what she said, I feel like the announcement of her successor will be made in the next few months, it sounds like, based on what she's saying here. So she might not be she's going to finish I think it sounds like these are the last two movies she's going to do for Star Wars and then move on. But I think, honestly, I my only thing with Kathleen Kennedy when everybody takes a massive dump on her is it's easy to blame her. And I feel like, and I said this on Rebelscom podcast yesterday, I think Last Jedi was her. Like, she was like, she hired Rian Johnson. She said, you do your movie. Like, you like Rian Johnson was like a indie filmmaker, like Looper, Brick and all that. Like, he didn't have the big budgets yet. And she was like, we want you. Like, she went that way, right? Like, we're getting this director for this. And when Marvel did that, it was with Edgar Wright. And it didn't work out for Ant-Man. And Edgar Wright went one way and Ant-Man went the other way. And I think she let Rian Johnson do what he wanted to do. For better or worse, I'm not even gonna pick a side if I think it works or not. But she said, do this. And that movie split like from that point on, Star Wars has been on this like eggshells after that, right? Like that's the one. And from there, I'm wondering if that's when like Bob Iger and the Disney exec said, we got shareholders that we got to appease, and they started to I think they might have tightened her leash a little bit on what she can do. I don't know how much though. Like, why would she stick around if she wasn't able to do what she wanted? So I'm not too sure. But they're still paying you. That's true. Yeah,
paying her the same. So and
it's probably a cushy job. Yeah,
she's worked her way up there, and now it is what it is. It's like I said. And maybe not as much Last Jedi as that then, because it still almost made almost $2 billion. It was the next follow up, I think, really worried them. And so, like I said, if there had been a big change then, that would have been like, but that's 7 years ago almost, and they've had some pretty good. They still had successful. Even though Episode 9 was less, it was $1 billion, and other than Avatar, which I'm surprised Disney hasn't already made 10 of those. That's the only one these days that does 2 or 3 million. Some reason, I'm not sure, but it does.
It's not like Disney hired her off the street. She had been working with Lucasfilm for years, so she probably loved Lucasfilm. She might actually love Star Wars. It's just some people have their own vision.
Oh she's been at certain aspects for a long time.
Look, when you look at The Last Jedi, everyone's complaining about The Last Jedi as Luke. If you make a couple tweaks for Luke in that movie, he could still. I think honestly, if you tweak Luke, you make him the Luke that everybody. I say everybody. You know what I mean. I don't mean everybody, but the Luke that the fans. I don't know how to say it. The Luke, the heroic Luke. There we go.
Right.
If you make that the Luke throughout the movie and he still dies at the end, I feel like the reception to that movie is a lot different than what it is. But anyway, let's move on with the story.
There was a little few things though that I think even Abrams, they promoted the Episode 7 as they did promote it like Luke was in it more. I remember the early trailers. It was they made it feel like that, and everyone's kind of waiting around. We've seen Han and Chewie, and they were great. They're their old pals and struggling like they were before. There's Leia. Okay, we're getting but we still hadn't seen him. And when we never saw him, I just thought for sure he was the guy that was going to catch the lightsaber from instead of Rey, and then have his Because if it says the Force Awakens, like when she grabbed the lightsaber, that to me that should have been when he awoke, and all of a sudden he's feeling all this and feeling. I'm sorry, I know I'm diverging, but
well, this is when a plan would have come in handy.
Han dies and he's there, and then you have this epic fight between his uncle. I think just that does a lot because people are not like, well, Rey, she just knew everything. She just never had any training, which that would have showed that she was vulnerable. Maybe Luke had to push her away to save her or something. And so I do think Abrams had a little bit to do with, and then kind of Ryan just went another. I mean, he could have been really, really different.
They were oil and water.
Rey to dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, if Luke had shown up like that, people would complain. Well, how did he get there so fast?
But no, if he awoke whenever she,
I don't know if you saw the acolyte, but the ships just magically appear where they need to appear.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking when Rey touched that thing, it was a good at least 2 or 3 days before they went to Starkiller Base. So
yeah,
it's look, you had J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson. They're oil and water. Clearly, they didn't mesh. Like they definitely saw Star Wars and they saw the everything differently. And the problem is, I mean, if you have a plan. Like, if you just know where the movies are going to lead to, I think that's not so much of an issue. But because they didn't, that was it. All right, let's move on. Deadline then says, Deadline, that you are looking within seems to give credence to what we've heard, that an exec life chief creative officer, Dave Filoni, is in a good position as he works on Star Wars to write and direct. Kennedy, obviously, I can't say who it is because there's just an internal process that goes on inside a large corporation and publicly held company, which is the problem with Star Wars right now, is it's the large corporation, publicly held company. As to how we go about making deals, finalizing decisions, and making announcements, there's nothing unusual about that, and we're in that process. Deadline, this flurry of press coverage, it sounds like chaos. What's the reality? Chaos? I ain't leaving. There has never been any chaos because we know exactly what the plan is, and we've been talking about it, as I said, nonstop for the last couple of years, because for obvious reasons, I'm not going to be here forever. George asked me 13 years ago to step in, and now I'm looking at who's going to replace me. And as I said, we have a bench of people internally to handle the business, the creative side. The job has grown also since I stepped in. There was no streaming. There weren't a lot of things that we're involved in right now going on. So it has grown. Yeah, that's fair. How far down the road do you expect before a change gets made and then you go up? They're really asking questions. Like, this is like, they're not like pussyfooting around this. They're just like, what's going on? Go produce these 2 big Star Wars things. We'll probably make an announcement months or a year out, and I have every intention of sticking around to help that person be successful. I'm already producing the Mandalorian movie and John Levy. I recall these same retirement predictions were rendered a while ago, and you re-upped, and here you are. What do you make of this fixation on your job status? Like the thing I love is, you know, that she's not logged into like Twitter or any social media app, right? And so she's like, I keep hearing it. She's probably just hears like these whispers. I truly don't know. And any discussion previously about me retiring or quitting or any of those things, that's completely rumor mill, because through all these reports, I have just continued doing my job and continuing my contract. Nothing unusual. It has all just been manufactured. The connotation is you're being pushed aside in need or being replaced, though that's not what I heard. Is absolutely not true. The case. It could not be further from the truth. And everything that we do inside of Lucasfilm is in lockstep and in communication with Disney. We all know what's going on. The communication has been completely collaborative, as you would expect. This is a big piece of business for them, and they want to empower me to help them make the decision and the choice. I'm doing that. And then this is a whew. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can read all this. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, don't.
I should have looked at this before he went on. There's a lot. This is a novel. If you need a novel, Heidi's got some novels. You can check those out.
Well, that's good.
I got the.
Hey, you mentioned social media, and that's one thing that 25 years ago, none of this is happening because people aren't on very much, and none of these rumors or anything. It's people just now having access to just say whatever they want, and there's really not much recourse. It's just whatever you want to say. But it was funny though. There was in like 2017, and this is before I knew he had anything to do with Star Wars. I said they were, this is back, 2017, 18. This is when, boy, Kathleen Kennedy, people are mad, tired of her. I said on Jon Favreau's Facebook page, I think it was his page, it's something to do with him. In 2017, I said, John, you would do a great job at running Lucasfilm. And I said that. And then, I kid you not, like 6 months ago, I get the comment back and it says, thanks. It was 7 years later. Somebody, either John really was one, or the handler was just didn't care. I was like, oh, well, cool. But he actually said thanks 7 years later. So if he gets it, I'd like to take credit for it.
We'll give you credit.
That was just, I was like, what? But I always thought he would be one. Now I don't think he'd probably want it, because I think he's probably would rather just keep doing what he's doing. But back then he didn't have much of the the shows and stuff. I thought he would have been a good one.
I don't think anyone's saying he want it, because you're gonna get the blame for everything. You're gonna get
some people would. Some people that would just take it, but someone that they feel like is the best to take it, I don't know. That may be harder to. That's maybe why she stays. They're having a hard time finding someone that they feel like would be worth paying to do that. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying who's ever in that seat, you're not going to get any accolades, and all the blame. So I want that job.
Yes.
So I was looking at the article. The big novel is about. You guys can read it. It's Deadline. I'll put a link in the description when we're done. But she just talks about how it's difficult, running like a big IP like Star Wars and Marvel and stuff. So we'll move down to this paragraph, to this conversation here. I broke a piece last fall about Simon Kinberg making a deal to write and produce a Star Wars trilogy. How is that going? Kennedy, we're absolutely rolling fast and furious. That has gone exceptionally well, and he's literally going to script as we speak. We'll see something probably around June. Simon, if you remember, he did some work with us years ago with the animated show, which was really wonderful collaborative experience. And then he got very, very busy with X-Men, and he recently became available again, and he segued into this space beautifully. We're really excited about where he's headed. There are spin-offs, and then there is the core Star Wars story broken into trilogies. Is this a continuation of that? This is the next iteration, the new saga that moves us into the future. That's pretty exciting. Okay, so they have some kind of, who knows. And then the one by Deadpool and Wolverine director, that's also in the future. It's all post 9. Sean's a standalone Star Wars story that'll take place post 9, maybe 5 or 6 years out. And Mandalorian really stands out on its own because there we're dealing with a whole new other era of the New Republic. We have other development going on in that space as well. So that's the Filoni movie I think she's referring to. So that's the space that we're pretty much focused on right at the moment, because obviously the Mandalorian, we have a pretty good sense of where that's going. And with this, it's all pretty much new characters. We may bring some of the characters back from the sequel saga, but pretty much new characters. Okay, so it sounds like the Sean Levy, Levy was Stranger Things producer, also Big Fat Liar. Can we not forget Big Fat Liar?
Big Fat
It sounds
Liar.
like the Levy movie is going to be a one-off. I'm going to hold my microphone like a lazy.
What is
bum.
Big Fat? I don't even remember that movie.
Big Fat Liar. Frankie Muniz, Amanda Bynes, Paul Giamatti. Check it out. Greatest movie of all. I'm just joking. It's a great movie. Big Fat Liar. It's like 1999 or 2000.
Okay.
It's years ago. Anyway, that's okay. It sounds like that movie, though, the Sean Levy movie is going to be a one-off, and the Kinberg movie is going to be like the New Hope. Like they're going to make a New Hope, and that's going to kickstart Star Wars into the next saga. So that movie, what he's working on, could be episode 10, potentially, not Sean Levy's. That's what it's sounding like here. And it sounds like that script will be done in June. They should have that in June, which means they'll start production sometime next year, which means it'll be canceled by next June.
I was like, I forgot he was even doing one, but now I kind of know. But I mean, he had some good and bad. I mean, I don't think the last X-Men Phoenix movie was terrible. It was like a what do you call it, lame duck movie, because everybody knew that they were going to Disney, and it actually was a little bit better than I think the credit, but because of all that, it didn't do that great. And it also had, remember, he's the one that created, it wasn't from a comic book, it wasn't from a movie, it wasn't from a comic, it was just his idea. One of the worst X-Men of all time, the guy that he had braids and he whipped people with his braids. Do you remember that? Have you seen that movie?
Yep. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Remember the braid guy?
Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
He his power was he had braids he could whip people with. I'm like, and that's Kingsbird's own baby he created. I don't know if that means anything, but I'll let you decide. That was one of the worst X-Men
looking forward for the braid lightsabers.
I know.
Heidi?
I said, didn't Will Smith's daughter write a song about whipping her hair back and forth?
Maybe.
I'm not really into Marvel, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was this. They all have their own powers. Usually cool. Like Magneto can meditate. Some people have ice, some people have fire.
No,
his one power was he had long braids and could whip you with them.
The only Marvel character I like is Squirrel Girl. So.
Is which one?
Squirrel Girl.
Amazing.
Squirrel Girl.
I
don't know.
She's going to be in live action soon. I think she was, but she's going to be in live action.
I never heard of that one. Oh.
She'll be your new favorite character by the end of 2025.
Control squirrels.
How do you know Squirrel Girl?
I don't know anything about Marvel, and that's pretty deep lore there.
She's a joke character. He created her as a joke. That's basically it.
Gotcha. Maybe that's what
Kathleen Kennedy is still going to step down. She's still definitely going to be like, okay, I'm moving on. I'm not retiring from movies. I'm just leaving Lucasfilm, and she'll go and make Jurassic Park 11, 12, 13, 14.
Do you guys think it'll be someone we familiar with, or just some business person that?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to pose you guys the question now. Are we looking at Dave Filoni? We're looking at Kevin Feige. We're looking at Jon Favreau, Simon Kinberg, maybe. Who would you guys suspect based on our little knowledge of the inside world of Lucasfilm? I love everyone on YouTube is like, I know everybody in Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And it's the same three people mentioned all the time. It's Filoni. Oh, it's going to be Filoni. But who, based on your little knowledge, sorry, Heidi, who would you like to see? Heidi, you can go.
Probably either Filoni or what's the other one? Filoni and Favreau, either one of them. The F boys, either one of them.
The F boys.
You got the triple F with Feige.
I was saying, they should bring back George Lucas, and then everyone complained that the director from they brought back the director from the prequel trilogies.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be cool. It would be really cool, but I don't know how that would.
I just want to add that if George Lucas had made his sequel trilogy, that Luke would have been just as much of a hermit. Yeah, and it was going to reveal that Leia, not Luke, was the chosen one. But I don't know if that's good or not. I don't know.
I think wasn't he going to bring Maul back? I think he was going to make when that was
maybe.
Yeah. Maul was going to be. Dale knows. We went through it all with Dale. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if Lucas had made his sequel trilogy, people would have hated it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that the sequel trilogy and the original trilogy, it's hard to compare because it's not really fair, because the sequel trilogy had all these other expanded universes and books and all this stuff that happened for 35 years, and then they released it, where the original didn't have to deal with that. And if the sequel trilogy was the very first trilogy of Star Wars, it would be looked upon as the epic greatest story of all time, because they didn't have all this other lore that they didn't address, like I thought a lot of people would have liked to have done, because the original didn't have to do, because there wasn't any. So I always felt
I think
that's one way that it would have been. I think if you just look at them as they're by themselves, not officially, because they are very similar. I mean, Yoda is kind of Luke, and Rey's kind of Luke, and they both have Sidious. So I think that's the one thing, but they just could have done a few things. Just have Thrawn being on the Empire. That probably would have helped. Some people would have liked that. I mean, that wasn't a hard thing to do. So
you just kind of mentioned my biggest issue with a lot of the sequel trilogy. What it did was it was like Snoke. My biggest issue with Snoke was he just shows up and they're like, wow, he's old and ancient, he's powerful.
yeah,
like, okay, but who is he? It doesn't matter who he is, but it does matter. They're like, no, you didn't know who the Emperor was. Yeah, but when I met the Emperor, there wasn't 40 years of Star Wars going into it. Like, you need, like, if you're going to tell me that Snoke has been around, you got to tell me where Snoke's been and why he didn't play. And it doesn't have to be much. And because whenever people say things like, oh, then you got to spend all this time on exposition. Have you ever seen A New Hope? They mentioned it like your father fought in the Clone Wars. The end.
yeah.
Like, you don't need a lot. It's just a line of dialogue. Like what? Like and Snoke. They're like, Snoke was around Ben Solo when he was in Leia's womb.
Right? Why?
Why? Yeah, like that's it. Like they were onto something. Like Snoke was more interesting on every material other than the movies. like he was like everything other than the movies. Snoke was a very interesting character. But that was the thing with the sequels. It was almost like they were like, well, you've seen the other movies, you'll get this. And it's like, yeah, okay. And I think the prequels had a problem with. I remember when The Force Awakens came out, there was a review. I don't remember who it was because it's been 25 years, but there was a review, and it was like, if you haven't seen the originals, you're not going to understand the Force. They don't explain the Force to you very well in this movie. And I was like, well, I've seen the original, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it is, but it's, I don't know. It's tough when you're dealing with these things. And I think Rian Johnson, and I know Ron's going to kill me when I say this, but I really think Rian Johnson understood Star Wars the best. I don't think his execution was necessarily the best, but I think he had a better understanding of it all. And I think he made some decisions that I'm not crazy about to this day, but I think he was a little bit handcuffed from what came before with J.J. Abrams, who I think loves Star Wars, but doesn't actually understand Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of the problem. Anyway, they didn't gel. And Kathleen Kennedy's she ain't leaving.
Yeah, no. I guess not. At least as of tonight, she's not.
I mean, some of the best Star Wars we ever got was from Gilroy, and he didn't understand Star Wars at all. And so, in fact, he even said, "Oh, it'd be good for Star Wars, Natalie Portman."
Yeah. But the thing with Gilroy though is he came in for Rogue One, and then he made a show about Andor just to care. Like he didn't go out of he didn't make episode 9 or 10, right? He made like a specific like spin-off, the isolated story that even if he screwed up something majorly, it wouldn't be that big. I just want to bring up Steamboat Willie with Spaghetti Game Cat. Yeah, we were just reading the Deadline article where she Leonardo DiCaprio us all, and she's not going anywhere. And look, Goof R35, we haven't seen you in a while, is here. Either she leaves or not, Star Wars is still in deep decline and still dropping. I think I agree with Ben 2017. Let me know what you guys think. I think we just really need a good Star Wars theatrical release and things will start moving in the right direction. I completely 100% agree with that. I think Star Wars on the small screen is fine, but it's not moving the needle. It's kind of boring people now. We've seen it all. Like the volume is offending people's eyes, apparently. I think, but you put a good movie in the theater, you remind people that Star Wars is a theatrical thing. You want to get together with your friends, with your family. You want to go in the theater, eat your popcorn, and the silence when the Lucasfilm logo pops up on the screen, and then the John Williams score, unless it's Rogue One or Solo, the John Williams score blasting your face off. When you have that experience again, I think Star Wars, and it's a good movie, obviously has to be a good movie. I think that will get the ball rolling and people back on the Star Wars bandwagon.
Yeah, but I was just making the point that he had someone who wasn't necessarily a fan, didn't get Star Wars.
Yep.
Didn't care what studio said, didn't care what the fans said. All he did was, I'm going to go out and make a great show, and he did.
Yeah, he did. And,
but isn't that what Rian Johnson did? Other than he knew Star Wars, but he kind of made his own thing.
But I like Last Jedi.
I know. I'm
But I do
Gilroy
think also,
didn't pick anybody off though, because he had no legacy characters to quote unquote ruin. I
yeah, I
guess.
Oh,
think Gilroy, he had an era also that, it's he made it feel kind of like that old original trilogy era, and he didn't really do anything that moved away from that. There wasn't, there's just not a lot of stuff, even in the Shadow of the Empire. I mean, that takes place between, I think that's between two, what is that, between 8 and 9? No, not 8 and 9. I mean, 5 and 6, I believe. I know it's either between New Hope, it's either
It's
between New Hope and
it's Empire and Jedi. Empire and Jedi.
yeah. So he didn't have to. So he was taking an error that just, frankly, there's not been a lot there when you think about it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it sucks everyone has to die. Oh wait, spoiler for Andor.
Whoa. Do you think Andor is going to survive the end of the series?
End of the series, yes. Now you got to watch the movie. Oh man, he's awesome. Are you sure you want to watch? Yeah. Yeah, the trailer though, that was, I don't know if you'd wanted to talk that a little bit.
Yeah, let's
I thought it was it looked great. It looks excellent. I'm very excited. It seems to be probably even better than, and I think I like that, how they're 3 episodes 1 year.
Yeah.
The next week, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm
unique.
very excited.
Heidi, you hated the structure.
No, I was for it. You gotta finally listen to me. But I mean, people were complaining because it moved too slowly, and so a lot of people, if they connect like if they cut episode 4, they might have been bored with it because it didn't move as fast for them. So I think like this show, you really need to do this.
Yeah, this I think will move fast. I agree. I mean, go ahead.
Because I remember like the first 3 dropped, and that was amazing. The first show, I was like, oh, this is it's interesting, but it's a little boring. But as we got into the second show, like kept going. The third show, you were really into it, but then the fourth show went back to being slow and then moving towards the outcome again. So I think you need to do this, because what's going to happen is if you got to wait next week and someone's like, well, this moves too slow, I'm not going to tune in this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to at least have a recap of season 1, but as long as you had a recap, I don't think you're that much out, because this is going to actually move every week, and because people will remember, oh yeah, that Andor guy from Rogue One. Yeah, they might miss his old background, but I don't know if that's really, although I love it, but I think if you're just an average fan, you may not even necessarily have had to watch all of 1, but because they'll move it through so quick. Did you guys say yesterday, maybe I misheard you, that the trailer said something about his sister? Didn't y'all say something yesterday about that?
No, it was like, it was the odds.
Oh yeah, the odds that the sister was going to show up. Okay, yes. I think that's one of the stories that may never get solved. I don't know about you.
I think it'll get solved, but the audience will find out. I don't think he's going to find out.
And who's the sister, Heidi?
Deidre.
Oh, that pans out.
I
wanted to bring up a comment from the. Go on, Heidi. I'll bring this up while you.
I was going to say the only reason I think it's her is because if it is someone on the show, it's got to be somebody he doesn't know.
Yeah, I agree.
There's only a few people he doesn't know.
It's true. I want to bring up this comment from Goofr35 because I think this is a valid point. From what I can tell with casuals, it's not so much that there is too much; it's that there is no care at all. Most of the shows are mediocre at best, and others are just filler. And I think that's here's the thing. And this is why I think it's valid, because I think as Star Wars fans, we watch, we're like, oh, that's great, blah, blah, blah. And I think Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, they all like work together and they're working towards something. And I think some casuals see it and some of them don't. And whether or not it works in the end remains to be seen. But I think, you look at Acolyte, you look at Skeleton Crew, like those two, especially, which are the most recent two. you look at those and you're like, if you are like, we're watching them, but a casual fan sees them, like, what's the point of this? Like, why am I watching this? What is and we're in an era now where, first of all, I think a little bit of that I don't agree with, I guess, because I think it is, we've had so much Star Wars and so much Marvel, so much of like the same things, that I think people are being a little more judgy on like what should I, or skeptical on what they should watch, what they shouldn't watch. And now it's at the point where everybody, like all the diehard Star Wars fans, are like, I want something separate from the Skywalkers. But the casual fans are like, but why am I going to give you, even though the shows are only a half hour, but why am I giving you a half hour of my time to sit there when I could be watching there are a billion other shows out there and movies to watch? Like, why am I giving you my time if this is not going to be about anything? Why am I giving you that time? Now, look, I love Skeleton Crew. Heidi, I know how you love the Acolyte, and it has nothing to do with our personal opinions of it. It's, if you think about those two series, they don't matter. If they don't exist, the Star Wars universe is not affected in any way. And I think that's a good point. It's like, people are like, what's the point of this? It's just filler. You're just putting it out there to get the views, to get the money, because it's Star Wars. It's like putting the Star Wars logo on a banana when Force Awakens came out. It's like, you're just doing that to do it. It's marketing. So what do you guys think of that? Because I think it's valid. I think what he's saying there is valid.
But you got like Rogue One. Like, that's a lot of people, that's their favorite Disney era movie. And really, it's just a movie about the opening crawl to New Hope. So somebody like, well, why am I watching this? I think there are actually ties between Skeleton Crew and the Mandoverse. There are ties from the Acolyte to the prequel trilogy. You can find ties in anything. Like I said, I'll watch these. My sister doesn't have Disney Plus, but usually after a while, I'll go spend the weekend with her, and we'll sit and just binge watch the Disney Plus shows she's never seen. She's never seen Goonies. She never wanted to see Goonies. The woman's 60 years old now. She has a granddaughter. We sat there and watched it. We got to episode 6. She goes, okay, we're just gonna go to bed and we'll finish watching this tomorrow. We get through episode 6, and it's like, well, I can't go to bed now. It's like, we gotta sit and watch the episodes. So it's the reason being is because it's just good, and you can hide anything. Like I said, in my head canon, at least, like, I feel like Leia showed up at the end of Skeleton Crew. I mean, I don't enjoy I write stories, but I don't enjoy reading because I have trouble reading because of my attention span. But so I'm probably not gonna want to read a story, but I don't mind sitting and watching them.
Yeah, I mean, that makes the Leia thing makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that, or at least someone to that level from the Republic. And I still think, in my somehow, some way, Jude Law, who has, I forgot, he has 1,000 names. Somehow, some way,
John Wood.
Yeah, and a whole lot of others. Somehow he gets hooked up with someone that's connected to the First Order, and he tries to work with the First Order to let him know where all that the gold is. Unfortunately for him, when he tries to take him, the Republic's party already had it, and then he's probably had it too. But that's my thought. Somehow, some way, he'll try to get the First Order, because he's a swindler, and that would be a massive thing. And maybe they get some of it. Maybe that is some of the money, because they had a lot of money. That's what I think. And it'd be fun to see that somehow that gets connected somehow. I don't know how, or maybe he'll show up in one of the big Thrawn movies or something.
I mean, I would say that Skeleton Crew is tied to the Mandoverse. The one pirate was there. Same people who, same pirates who are borrowing non New Republic planet. So I would say it all ties into the New Republic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, the prequels are just made up around a throwaway line from A New Hope. I mean, because you had Ben tell Luke about the Clone Wars. He goes, "You fought in the Clone Wars?" It's like, George Lucas had no idea what the Clone Wars were. It was just there for a way line, but it's the whole plot point of the prequel trilogy.
Well, I don't know. George may have had every episode written by then. No, I agree. Yeah, you're right. That's what it was. And got the Clone Wars are some of the best material he ever did, and it definitely makes the sequels a lot better. It's a lot. I've watched it 2 or 3 times, and that is why it's nice to have Filoni involved, because he's the closest connection to George, because he worked with him so much on the Clone Wars. But I don't think I'd want him to be like Kennedy, because I don't want to take him away from the creativity stuff. I'd like to have him stay there, and let some number guy do her deal.
Yeah, maybe you do what DC did, and you have your James Gunn and Peter Safran. You have 2 people there. You have your producer and you have your creative.
Yeah.
You let that do that. I mean, who knows if that's going to work out, though? They haven't even started that. But yeah, maybe that's the way to go. You have 2 of them.
Yeah. I think that is. Who did you said Bob Iger? Who was the other guy? You mentioned some other guy's name.
Oh, Bob Chapek took over for Bob Iger.
Yeah. But then you said somebody else. I thought you said somebody. Maybe not. But Chapek's got demoted or not there anymore or something, right?
Yeah, he got let go because he screwed the pooch.
Yeah. Didn't he? Yeah. But he had to deal with COVID and everything, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think I don't really know the ins and outs. This is a Disney Desi question.
Yeah.
I think he really botched up more than Star Wars. Disney. Yeah. I think he's the reason why you have 400,000 Marvel shows where the quality starts to diminish and stuff. Yeah, I think that was it.
Oh, I know what it was next. You said the guy for Ant-Man. So the guy that does
Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright.
He made the 3rd one. He didn't do the first 2, right?
No, he didn't do any of them. He was hired to do the first one before it was a thing.
Oh.
And he's his own kind of filmmaker, and it just didn't jive. And he was let go. And Ant-Man, I don't think anybody would argue, ended up being in a good spot, and his career didn't falter because of it. So,
yeah, the first 2 were one guy, and then the 3rd one that was the new guy, which I liked the 3rd one more than some. A lot of people didn't like it, but it was kind of cool because it was much more of a sci-fi thing. Like the 2 Ant-Man first 2 were not a lot of sci-fi, and sci-fi is my part. So I liked, but I have to admit, if you were I always say the Ant-Man movies and kind of Deadpool stuff, that people that are just kind of casual Marvel like those, because they're not. You can kind of follow Ant-Man 1 and 2 and Deadpool and don't really have to know. Well, I mean, except the last Deadpool, there's a lot. But the first 2, it's just kind of because the people that like those movies, my friends, or like my domestic partner, Christina, she likes those. They're funny. She can't get into Guardians of the Galaxy and all that stuff. That's too much for her. But she loves, because Ant-Man's kind of its own little fun story,
Yep. It's its own thing. I like the first 2 Ant-Man. I thought they were different.
Oh, they're good.
Let's go to the chat. We got Ron. I'd love for Star Wars to go the way of DC, just restarting 50 times. Oh, Alan Horn, I think, is who you're thinking. I've seen plenty of Star Wars stuff make it on the big political channels and whatnot. Yeah, but anyway, I think Star Wars on the big screen we need to get back to that. I'm really looking forward to next May. I'm not looking forward to being another year older, but I'm looking forward to finally. I can't believe it's going to take 7 years for them to bring Star Wars back. Right. And I think that speaks a lot to they just wanted to push Disney Plus. I don't think they cared about theatrical stuff. I think it was all Disney Plus. And I think if you look at the way theatrical films were even treated for the last couple of years, it makes studio mandates on all of them were like, let's push streaming, which to me still doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that Andor season 2 is going to cost more than the Rise of Skywalker, and it's not going to make any money. It's not going to make any money, and it costs more. It's going to be. Look, I think I think Andor season 1 is the best looking Star Wars anything.
Yeah,
Like whether you like what it's about or whatever, I just think it's beautifully shot and it looks phenomenal. And I think season 2
spaceship that has lightsabers. I mean, those.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's gonna. I think season
awesome.
2 is gonna be just as good. But like, you can't spend that much money on a streaming show, Heidi.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how they do it because you're right. I don't know how they gauge streaming. They all have their own algorithm and what they make. Because I mean, I can't imagine they're making $300 million on Andor season 2. So,
I think they need to start releasing stuff on terrestrial television.
Yeah,
you've said that before.
ABC or Fox or anything.
I don't know if it was this show or a different one, and I can't prove it. I don't have the post. But in 2020, I said, why don't they make a Grogu and Mandu movie? I mean, everybody loves them. Now,
yeah.
I thought it might be 2 years later. I didn't think it'd be 6 years later, but it just made sense because everyone was in love with that. And I guess, and if you had not had COVID, they might have done that because that really slowed some things down. But that just made sense. Like, why not why not do a movie with them and release it in a couple years?
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling it will do the best, but I don't know. Now we're 4 or 5 years later. It may not do as good now.
I'm really curious because people, I mean, I think general audiences still kind of like Grogu, but I think a lot of diehards are kind of like over him now, and I will never be over Grogu.
No.
Wookiee Talks. The Mandalorian Grogu is blown up episode of The Mandalorian, but it'll tie new characters into the Dave conglomeration movie. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's here's my thing though. Is like, because it's supposed to be season 4 of The Mandalorian, but then they decided to make it a movie, which they did with Moana 2. Moana 2 was going to be a series, and they made it a movie that they made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Season 3 of The Mandalorian, Heidi, I think you'll back me up on this, should have just been a damn movie. It is one long show. It works better when you binge it. And I think if that was going to be the case with Mandalorian season 4, I think they're making the right decision by making this a movie. It might not be the greatest Star Wars movie ever, but I think it's going to work 1,000 times better than if they would have split it up into 8 episodes. Heidi?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have completely cut up episode 5 of Mandalorian season 3. And it would have been fine. Yeah, I'm all for it being released as a movie. Some things work. I think Solo would have worked better as a series, but I think Mandalorian season 3 and this upcoming movie, I think those work better as movies. And again, Mandalorian season 3, like Acolyte, I think it needed to be dropped all at once. And I would have liked to have seen Andor on the big screen, especially DI episode. That would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah,
Acolyte, there's some really amazing stuff about it, but then there are just some things that are just, what are you doing? So I think they missed on some stuff. I do. It's like one of those. I think the next season would have probably been better than the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the problem with the Acolyte is I think Leslie Headland was a Star Wars fan. I could tell by it, but I think she was also putting her own message and her own beliefs into the show. And when you do that, that's always a bad idea because what's going to happen is you're going to alienate fans, whether you agree with these fans or not. You don't want to alienate people. It's like, I don't understand celebrities when they endorse politicians or political campaigns because you're gonna end up alienating people. I mean, my mom, she was very political, but she would never put a bumper sticker on her car because she was afraid somebody would key it.
Your mom, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. You never know the wrong person walking by.
My brother-in-law has a couple businesses, and people knew what his political party was, and they'd always beg to have signs put in his business. He said no because he doesn't want to piss anyone off from the opposing party and not coming to the store and buy beer.
Yeah, I don't. Even these superstars say things like that. If you vote for so and so, I don't ever want to hear you ever listen to my show. Well, that's a lot of your listeners, but okay. I don't know why you would do that, but
I never understood I never understood that aspect of things, but remember, I think I saw a quote from Johnny Carson, and he said he was like, his job. For those of you who don't know, he hosted the Tonight Show for 400,000 years. He says something like he doesn't do political jokes a lot of time because his job is, or he doesn't talk about politics a lot because his job is to entertain and tell jokes. I think that's been forgotten a lot too. I don't know how we're getting it. Well, and like, no, but that, I mean, because this is what annoys me with Star Wars fans. They're like, Star Wars is not political. And then the other half are like, Star Wars has always been political. Yeah. Both of you are accurate in what you're saying. You're both accurate. It has been political and it hasn't been political, but it's been political and I know George Lucas, you know, he talked about how Ewoks represented, I think it was the Vietnam War and stuff like that. That was where he got inspiration for that. But it's not beating you over the head with it, and it's very subtle, and really it's not about that. It is political, but it's not political. Like, you don't watch, I mean, the sequels obviously have Senate meetings and stuff, so we'll not talk about that. But he's not saying, you know, the original trilogy isn't all about politics. Even though it's there, that's not the main aspect. That's not why you're watching it. He's not beating you over the head with it. It's just, it's part of the story and it's flowing into it. And I think nowadays you try to force things in and people, you feel it. You feel it when it's being forced in. You have to let things happen and grow naturally, which I think for a lot of things, a lot of aspects of storytelling, that is not a lot of people's strengths anymore.
I mean, my thing is, even if you are being political, a good storyteller will actually tell the story in a way where both sides will feel like, oh boy, they completely read my mind. That's exactly how I feel.
What are you saying?
I'm saying, like, you can watch something and somebody on the left could be like, oh, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
They're talking about me, but somebody at the right could be seeing the same story at the same time.
Sure.
They're both thinking that the person is talking to them, which you don't know. I mean, because everybody finds their own truth and their own stories and their own examples. That's what a good story is. You're being political, but you can get both sides to think that you're telling their story.
Do you think that
new? Yes, sooner.
Go ahead. I was saying something completely off topic. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's a new mandate at Disney now, or a lot of companies where it's like, you know, Bob Iger said we're not gonna push messaging anymore. We're not gonna push messaging, and people are like, no, we've always had messages. Yeah, but they were morals. I think there's also a difference there too when you're pushing your own philosophies, your own messages on people. Like, I don't know. I just it's tough because, you know, it depends on how you feel and what you know, like. It's just weird. Everybody's all over the place, but I think morals and messaging are different, and we've lost sight of a lot of things in it as well, like pandering, patronizing. Twitter's all about those things. They don't realize it, but it's, you know, we're in a weird time right now, and Star Wars, I think, was suffering because of it. And I don't know if suffering is the right word, but I think decisions were made behind the scenes to do things that didn't work in the favor of the IPs involved, not just Star Wars, a lot of them. And I think they're trying to course correct, but as Ron keeps pointing out, they might be too little too late on it. It's going to be tough. But I'm going to watch Star Wars. If I don't like the next Star Wars, hopefully I'll like the next one. Yeah. And if I don't like the next one, maybe I'll like the one after that. And if I just keep not liking them, I've got a Blu-ray box set of the first 6 of them sitting over there that I can go pick up and watch anytime. I have Disney Plus. I can watch any of the Star Wars movies that I enjoy anytime. It's like, at the end of the day, I'm going to keep watching them. And if I don't like them, there's more. I can just go back in the archives.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put some Pez dispensers and put on a puppet show.
That would be funny. Do you think it would have been good that in the Acolyte, and it would have worked even for real world and just within the show, that to have Vanestra sort of do a recap of history of what the Jedi went through with Marcion Rowe? Like, just, you know, she's telling the tale of, because I think it's kind of implied that there really wasn't a lot going on until now their Sith are kind of showing up. But that, because I think that show's about, 50 years or something when all that ended. I think it would have been interesting to have just a so they could have seen, because that was, I mean, I listened to the audiobooks, and that was a massive problem. The Nihil was horrible, and they were just insanity. And Banestra was really the only one that would have lived through it. I think it would have been interesting, and also good marketing for the High Republic for the book, because I think it would have been cool to tell the story because of I mean, Marcel Rowe is an amazing. I guess I just want to have him on live action someday, because he is a great villain. He is an excellent.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's too bad that, I mean, he's just one of those psycho, people that believe his cause no matter what, and he finds animals that kill Jedi. To even explain that, to see and to show what they went through, I think it would have been. I just personally think it would have been kind of interesting for them, and would have really. I think it would have opened up a lot of people. Like, hey, maybe I need to start. That sounds like that's pretty amazing. And they even could have shown it to be a kind of a, what do they call those when they're setting up a spinoff? I forgot what they call those, but
Backdoor pilot.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, those things, they show up and the Jedi just melt. It's unbelievable. It is a crazy thing.
Yeah, Brock talks about that all the time.
He's
into that.
Like, I wonder if, like, the Acolyte should have been like season 2 of what they were planning, and then maybe gone back and done a prequel to it. I don't know. Because it sounds like season 2 sounded awesome. You're not going to.
The High Republic books, I mean, they are the high level ones, and they made a lot of books. But the high level, there's like maybe 5 of them, and I think I'm on 3 that show the big picture. Those are, I listened to one of those little ones, and they're there, but it doesn't really. But the high level ones are really, really good, and they even go back farther, which I liked. The first the levels with Marcion Rowe are better than they went to even before him, and that was okay. But I liked the Marcion Rowe. I think it's like four high level books. They're really, really good. Because then the next 2 I think are like 100 years before him. So.
Yeah, they go around time.
I was going to say, the thing about the World Between Worlds, you can bring anybody back.
Yeah.
So you could bring whoever back into the Ray movies or whatever coming up. I don't know.
The World Between Worlds is a touch. I don't know. I kind of want them to stay away from that. Speaking of staying away, we should wrap this up.
Yep.
Hold on, I'm trying to bring the music back in. Do you hear it? There it is. Listen to that. There it is. It's called Into Space. StreamYard original. Chat, you guys have been awesome tonight.
Appreciate it, man.
And you guys, Sooner, Heidi, it's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ben Solo.
Don't take a chance.
You know what? We'll do another live stream next week, and we'll talk a little bit about Benjamin Solo. How about that?
And your little daughter will be doing a lot better by then.
Yeah, she was sick today. Stayed home sick. Yeah, little feel.
She's like 3.
She's two and a bit, and she had to stay home from daycare today. Sick. She fell asleep early. Hopefully she's feeling. I've got her on the camera right now watching her.
I'm sure in a few days she'll be better, but it's always rough.
Yeah, it's tough. She's a ball of energy, and today she was just a little slug.
Yeah.
And very cuddly though, so it's kind of nice also.
Yeah, that's true. True.
All right, Sooner. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to mention? You're a big Blue Jays and Toronto Maple Leaf fan, from what I know.
Yeah, no, Boomer Sooner. That's mine. I'm an Oklahoma Sooner alum, like you can see with my name. Yeah. No, just enjoyed the show. Enjoy your content. And anytime. Looking forward to doing the next one. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining. Heidi, what do you got for us?
If you want, read one of my books. There's one of them. You can go to Amazon.com. Look under my pen name Ann Brighton, or I have one book called His and Swan, which is under my regular name. So we look up Ann Brighton or Heidi Federer at Amazon.com, but 18 both. I don't need any letters.
And you got a great story about how you came up with the name Ann Dryden. We'll talk about that on the Benjamin Solo story. Do you want to bring it up now? You want to say now?
No, it's the old porn name simulator.
I love it.
My middle name is Ann, and I live on Brighton Court. So. The other is your pet's name and your mom's maiden name. So I didn't think Chance Ramp sounded like a good name. So.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate you being here. And oh, guys, we have a video call from Kathleen Kennedy.
Gonna say.
We have a video call from Kathleen Kennedy. Give me a second. Kathleen, let me see if I can find Kathleen Kennedy here. Where is it? Oh, where'd it go? Kathleen Kennedy. Hold on. Everyone, just give me a minute. Kathleen Kennedy is here, I swear. She's here. Okay. You know what? If this was just work, that'd be great. Kathleen Kennedy is here.
Okay.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving!
Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.
Mm-hmm.